Big Mo. I'm Ricky Hampton, along with former NBA players Paul Mokeski and Derek Durbin, coming to you on a Thursday afternoon, unless you're on the West Coast. We'll wish you a late good morning. Hey, we wanted to get together and just spend a few minutes talking with you guys, going back over last weekend's NFL championship games, and we're looking at Super Bowl coming up, and it's going to be Kansas City and Green Bay. And guys, just your thoughts on what occurred.
It's going to be who? Who's it going to be?
Oh, that's my heart saying I wish it was Kansas City.
I know. I'm like, oh,
Kansas City and Tampa Bay. I got the wrong Bay. And I got to tell you, that doggone Tom Brady is just the luckiest man in the world, isn't he?
Well, I mean, you know, my heart's in Green Bay and Kansas City, and both Derek and I are happy and sad because I thought it was going to be Green Bay and Kansas City, and Derek thought it was going to be Tampa Bay and the Bills. But going back to that Packer game, I mean, Tom Brady, the GOAT, threw 3 interceptions. He threw 3 interceptions. Should have been 4 at the end of the first half. A Packer DB had an interception in his arms and let it go, and then 12 seconds later they scored a touchdown to end the half. So, you're right. Brady is awesome, but Packers, and I'm a Packer fan, but that play, not running on 4th and goal when Rodgers had the lane wide open, he could at least got to the 2 and slid. For the 3rd down play, for the 4th down play, for me, it was really frustrating. Tampa Bay's a good team, but I think the Packers lost that game more than Tampa Bay won it.
Oh, no doubt. And 2 of those interceptions were in the 4th quarter. It's not very often you throw 2 picks and win the game. 2 picks in the 4th quarter, you still win the game there.
And the Packers didn't capitalize on it.
Certain teams find ways to win. Certain teams find ways to lose, man. It breaks my heart. Green Bay had ample opportunities to win that game. And even when you look at it, when you talk about the 3 interceptions in the first half, and then you drop an interception and you give up a touchdown at the end of the half, that's a momentum killer. That is not a good way to go into the locker room when you're playing against a guy named Tom Brady. Every opportunity that you get, you must capitalize. And Green Bay didn't do that, and they'll have a sad few months thinking about it, all the opportunities they had. It was a game of ebb and flows. Green Bay had an opportunity, and they wasted their opportunities. So we get ready now for Tampa Bay and that man, Magic Mahomes.
When do we start thinking about the Packers, who now have lost 4 NFC Championship games in the last 7 seasons and not been able to go to the Super Bowl? So, that's a classic example of a team that's up there but can't get over that hump to get to the Super Bowl. Don't want to open up an old wound on me, but that's what we were with Milwaukee Bucks for years in the 80s. We could do really good and we couldn't get over into the Super Bowl. Rodgers is getting older, and he's they asked him the question, what do you think of, right after the game, he said, well, nobody's secure here yet, and now he's kind of backtracking on that. NFL, like the windows open and close just like the NBA fast. So it's a heartbreaker for the Packers, and their future is is up in the air now.
Hey, Ricky, let me say this quickly. I never played pro football, but I know a little bit about the game, and I know when it's time for 4 down territory, and Green Bay was in 4 down territory. 4th down, you do not go for a field goal with 2 minutes and 8 seconds left. That is lunacy. So I don't know what Matt LaFleur was doing, man. I don't understand it. I'll never understand it. But I knew right away. I wrote on Facebook, when they kicked that field goal, for all intents and purposes, in my mind, the game was over.
You got Rodgers. You don't have Joe Blow at quarterback. You have Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
And that's where it goes. That's where it goes back to him not running on 3rd down. even if he doesn't get in the end zone, it's 4th and 2, and there's no question. Now it's 4th and 8, and they kicked a field goal, which, as we know, was not a good idea.
Paul, I think the tortoise could have made it in that end zone.
But you could have. I don't think I could have, though.
Hey, Paul, let me say this to Ricky. Ricky, just on that last play, you looked at the play. There was nobody on the right side of the field. Nobody.
Yeah,
He started running. One guy came towards him, but that guy was so far away. And then all of a sudden, just out of clear blue sky, he throws the ball at Devontae Adams' feet. And that's the ball game.
Yeah. Well, that's the ball game because the coach didn't give him another chance. The coach kicked a field goal. But this goes to show you guys on a professional level, you guys didn't play in the NFL, but you played in the NBA. And you know how hard it is to win one game. Even in the NBA, to win one game is an achievement. So take that to the NFL where they only did 16 times and now in the playoffs. You can make the argument Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback ever, I think. And he's only got one, and he hadn't won in championship games. But I think the Packers wouldn't be in a lot of those championship games without Aaron Rodgers leading them.
Yeah, I mean, if the coach goes for it on 4th and 8 and doesn't get it, no one questions him. No one. They say, of course that's the right call. You have Aaron Rodgers and you put it on the players to make the play. If you kick a field goal, you put it all on you. And as a coach for 25 years, you kind of wonder, did he want to kind of prove something that he's going to outsmart somebody and kick the field goal and then get the ball back and score and kick a field goal to win or whatever he was thinking? That was mind-boggling to me. Blew my mind.
All you need is one first down. You're talking about Tom Brady. One first down to me was a guarantee to run out the clock. I can't figure out what he was thinking, and we never would understand. I'll never understand it.
I'm sure he's going to rethink that, and it's going to be with him until he can get over that.
Well, when I was coaching in Dallas, Don Nelson always told us in the playoffs, the hardest game to win in a playoff series is the closeout game. It doesn't matter if you're up 3-0, 3-1. It doesn't matter. That closeout game, that one game is the hardest to win.
Weird, but true. So weird, but true.
And that's what you believed as a player too, Mo?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, because the other team has nothing to lose. And, it puts a little pressure on you and, and games can go like we saw in 1 or 2 plays. They flip-flop and momentum changes and, you lose a game and now you got to play another one that you weren't expecting to have to play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's go. We got some folks checking in with us this afternoon, and we appreciate you guys. Vincent Charles, the Super Bowl falls on my birthday, February 7th, and it happens every 10 years. Last time, it was the Saints that beat Peyton Manning. I was in the VA Center in downtown Detroit. The Kansas City Chiefs will win. Love you, Derek. Crusaders for life. That's our friend Vincent Charles checking in.
Hey, Vince, Ricky, I got to get this message out to Vince because he's a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And Ricky, you just said something a few minutes ago about one win. It's hard to get one win. So I hope next year Mike Tomlin can remember that. When he get these wins, take the wins, man. Don't be complaining when you're 11-0 about what we could have done better. You take the win and you move on to the next week.
Just win, baby. And our buddy, the great Corleone Young, KC, baby, all day. They on the field. Corleone, I'm with you, brother. Kansas City's going to be hard to beat. And Thomas Anthony Calise. Thomas, I hope I said your last name correctly. You were checking. What's up, Mo?
Tom Calise.
Yes, Tom Calise. He's checking in saying, what's up, Mo? And Vincent Charles replied back to you, yes, sir. And we certainly appreciate you guys checking in with us this afternoon for this special edition of D. Gerb and Big Mo. Winning is hard at every level. Hey, have you guys ever played with a coach who thought it was about him and not about the players? Because it's a player's game, correct?
Players
But you
game.
can't have a coach who thinks it's, I'm the one that's making this happen.
Well, I think there's a balance. I don't agree. I agree to somewhat that it's a player's game, but it's not all a player's game. I mean, let's watch. Even though the Lakers didn't win last night, anybody that was watching that game, their coach drew up a great play to get Anthony Davis a layup on a little curl that the Lakers executed perfectly. That's the coach drawing up a play that works. So I think it's a combination of the two. But you're right. And the bottom line is on the field, on the court, the players have to make the plays. And if a coach gets it turned around and starts putting on, what's that basketball movie? The high school team, Carter.
Yeah.
Coach Carter.
Yeah, when his players were all up and great, and I did that, and yeah, look at me. And then in one practice, he was like, yeah, that's me. I drew up that play. Yeah, that's me. It's all on me. Yeah. And then they looked at him like he was crazy because he was. Well, that's where you have to remember as a coach, it's a team effort. And, in NFL, I got to believe it's similar to the NBA. When you're at the highest level, it's a team effort. Goes from coaches to assistant coaches, strength and conditioning coach, the trainers, the equipment guys, the players, all of the above are part of that team, and they all have to be working together to be successful at the highest level.
Hey, you got to have a coach with some arrogance. I mean, I don't think you reach the highest level without some form of arrogance. And yes, I want a coach that believes in himself, because a lot of the times the coaches are the ones that help a lot of players keep their composure. And it's not always the head coach, but like Paul said, it's a collective, it's a collective thing with all these different guys in your ear. And if you look at last year with Glenn Rivers and all the guys he had, Ty Lue and all these guys, yeah, a lot of times they can settle some players down. But if you're asking about a coach, yes, I want a coach that has some arrogance and believes in his abilities. I played for Bill Fitch and for Flip Saunders. And those were two guys that had lots of belief in their coaching abilities. And they walk the walk. And all the other guys, the players, just fall in line because we saw that they knew what they were talking about. They understood the game.
Yeah, you can't be timid or scared. As a coach,
don't be scared.
You can't be, and you have, like we talked. You asked me, what's it take to be a great coach in the NBA? And it's knowledge, it's accountability, and it's respect. And if you're timid as a coach and not confident what you're doing and know what you're doing, the players sense that, and you got no chance of winning. And they won't respect you at all, and you can't hold them accountable.
This is for both you guys. How does a coach? This is from Thomas, our friend Thomas again. How does a coach earn respect from players?
Hey, Paul, let me answer this quickly.
I can't wait.
Because I'm going to tell you how you earn it. First of all, when you got a guy named Beast Mode on your team and you're on the 1 or 2 yard line, you get the ball to Beast Mode. That's how you earn a coach's confidence, by making smart decisions. I don't think Seattle has recovered yet. And it's been what now, 3 or 4 years? I don't think they recovered yet from that blunder that Pete Carroll made, and his players have certainly not forgot it. So it just comes down to making smart decisions at the right time, at the right moments of the game.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And also you have to have knowledge and smarts about you that the players can see. That happens in practice. That happens in video sessions. That happens on the airplane. The way you carry yourself, the way you can draw up plays, and some of those plays have to work. You have to have that about you, and then the way you communicate to your players. They see that you know what the hell you're talking about, then they see that you know how to communicate to them the right way, then you got a chance. And quite frankly, truthfully, as far as the NBA goes, a lot of respect comes from current players to former players, like Doc Rivers, like Ty Lue, like guys like that. They get a little more respect given to them at the beginning because they actually played and have been there. And if you have won a championship in the past, then that respect is given to you even more right off the bat. Now you have to earn the rest by what you know and how you go about your business. But it used to blow my mind in the NBA or college how I would go to a practice and see some 5'10" guy trying to show a 7-foot guy how to play in the post. You don't know. I mean, I'm sorry, but you never did that. Why don't you, some NBA guy saying, okay, when you guard Shaq, you do this and you do that, and you're 5'10". You come out here and try and do this and that to Shaq. I mean, there has to be some give and take there. That's respect.
It's something I want to bring up in the NBA. I talked to Paul about. You think about it. Big guys don't get the opportunity to lead teams in the NBA the way former guards do. I could give you guard after point guard that's coaching team, but you just don't see big men who are, head coaches. Of course, there've been a few, but on the whole, you guys don't get the credit, Paul, for knowing the game. Apparently, are being able to lead teams.
That's been a sore spot for me for a while, but whatever, I've done that. But I can name probably if I put it on pen and paper, I can name at least 20 former point guards that were head coaches in the NBA, and I can name a handful of bigs that were head coaches: Bill Russell, Bill Cartwright, Kevin McHale,
Ray Scott.
What's that?
Ray Scott, only a few.
Back in the day.
Yeah. So, but that goes back to the history of the game and it's still true, but to less extent now, because now you have like LeBron Jameses and guys like that are now, directing teams from a different position. But before, only point guards really ran the show, and they were an extension of the head coach, always on the floor. And sometimes the best situations are when your point guard knows what you're going to call before you call it, because your minds are in sync. So point guards have a history of knowing the whole floor, knowing what all the players do during one play, where most players just know what they do in a play. And that's I got a lot of that knowledge when I was an advanced scout for the Dallas Mavericks and had to draw all kinds of plays, all kinds of situations. But if you go to a high school high-level player, even some college players, a lot of college players, you ask them to draw up their horns play or whatever you want to say, most of them couldn't draw it up on the board. They could just draw it what they do because that's how they think. And I think that's what happened in that kind of scenario as far as point guards versus bigs as head coaches.
Paul, you're so right. It's changed a little bit today. Thank God for guys like Nikola Jokic starting to get the big men a little more respect mentally. But it goes back to the point guards having the ball in their hands most of the time, and they have to get everybody in position to be where they have to be successful. So that's been what we've been accustomed to, is the point guard having the ball, the point guard telling you where to be at point A, point B, point C. That's how the game is gone. And I don't see it changing anytime soon, but hopefully we will get a few more big guys in the game. Because if you look at it, guys like Embiid and Jokic, they do have a high basketball IQ. What we're used to is the point guard running the show. And I'm hoping that changes a little bit, but hey, it's worked so far.
I mean, there is no big head coaching in the NBA right now, right? There isn't one. And what really upsets me a little bit, that I'm a big guy and a coach, but that guys like Jack Sikma, who is a great coach, never got a chance to have a head job in the NBA and have his own team. Patrick Ewing, who's a great coach and coached on great teams with great coaches, Van Gundy and Riley, and he never got a chance to have his own team in the NBA as a head coach. He had to go to his alma mater, Georgetown, to get that opportunity, and that's what's sad to me.
Hey, Paul, if you ask some of the Georgetown players, they happy Patrick didn't get a chance in the NBA because didn't sound like he was too loved at Georgetown.
Yeah. Oh, look at Juwan Howard. Juwan Howard was a great coach in Miami for years and years, never got a head job in the NBA, and now he's doing a great job in Michigan.
But so much of college basketball is recruiting. And, some guys are able to get players, some guys aren't.
Ricky, recruitment and belief, getting the guys to really believe in what you're selling. If you look at Juwan Howard when Michigan plays, man, it's almost like he's a part of the team, man. Even though he's the coach, he's that much into it. He lets the guys do their thing on the bench when they're over there celebrating and all that. And it just seemed like all the guys have bought in because he acts like one of them.
Yeah, he was in Dallas when I was coaching there for 2 years as a backup player. He was just a joy to be around. Practice was awesome with him. And I'll say recruiting is a huge part of college basketball, like you say, Ricky. However, getting the best players is not the most important thing. Getting the right players is the most important thing. And I don't care what some five-star guy, 5-starred by some guy I don't even know in some gym. I don't know where you are. I want to see that kid. I want to talk to that kid and his family. And then I got the right player, not necessarily the best player, but the right player.
Paul, Calipari and Krzyzewski are learning that this season, the hard way.
Well, so are you saying they don't have, they got good players? Clearly, you're going to Duke and Kentucky, you're a good player. So what do you think's missing?
Chemistry.
Well, yeah, and you say clearly, that I don't know clearly. I mean, I was only in college basketball for a couple of years at Stony Brook in Long Island and at USC out in California. But one of the things two things I really noticed. The first thing was in recruiting, a lot of the colleges and their staffs rely on 4-star, 4.5-star, 5-star too much. And they read these reports and who's writing those reports and, okay, he's a 5-star big that plays in the low post and he can score in the low post. And you're an offense that runs 5 out. Well, he can't help you win no matter how good he is in the low post.
Okay, Paul.
And the other thing is, hold it. And the other thing is how limited a lot of the college coaches are in their basketball expertise about X's and O's and offense. And, so many times in college, you run your system. We run our system. Well, in the NBA, your system has to change to what players you have. And that's okay until you get up to where your system's not working. You can't make adjustments. Happens all the time to teams that have been running for years and years. And when I was in USC, Henry Bibby was the head coach. And Henry Bibby has played in the NBA experience. And one thing, we beat we were a good team and we beat better teams sometimes, ranked number 1, Stanford, number 3, Arizona, because he was running offenses that most colleges weren't running. They were NBA style. And most college coaches couldn't adapt to that or change their defenses.
Yeah. I think Thomas hits it on the head. Role players that know their role make a huge difference on good teams.
Character, Ricky.
That's wrong. That's wrong.
You gotta have players. People forget you could be a 5-star player, but if you one of those guys, every time coach take you out the game, man, you complaining, you got something to say back. Those are kind of things that kill teams. So we got to get back to looking at character, man. You got to have character players to win this game today. It's not just your skill set. It's also your mental makeup. And you got to be able to put all these different guys together, all these different personalities together to blend as one. That has nothing to do with talent. It has somewhat to do with talent, but talent is not the end all. These guys, you got to have high character players that buy into your system through good and bad. And today, that's what we seem to be getting away from. It's just now all about your skill set. He's a high jumper. He can do this. There's more to the game than that. It's what can you do mentally to help our team stay afloat.
Yeah, and Tom, I want to say my correction on that. You're right about knowing your roles, but I always say players do know their roles. They know their roles. They don't accept their roles. Players have to accept their roles, and that's the key.
Yeah. Hey, can you give an example of that, Paul? Maybe not of a guy not fitting what he should be doing, how that trickles down to others.
Well, we've had this conversation a little bit before, so it's short form. I coached in the D League, NBA, overseas, wherever, and I always notice when our team or a team is struggling, and you ask the players, "Hey, what's wrong? Why can't we win a game?" 90% of the time, those guys will say, "Well, coach, these guys don't know their roles." So I had an exercise that I did to show that was not true. So what I did is I took the coaching staff, however many assistants I had, and we had a meeting, and we would put up on the whiteboard every player's name and 3 spots for what we thought that player's role was. And then we would go as a staff, okay, Ricky, we need him as a rebounder, a good defender, and a leader on our team. That's our 3 roles for you, Ricky. So then, no, see, that's the problem. That's the problem. So we would write all those down. I would cover them up, and then I would bring the team in to have a meeting after that. And I would have every player, Ricky, you go up on the board, and there's 3 spots there. You write what your role is on this team. And you will write, I'm a leader, I need to handle the ball more, and I need to shoot more. So that you don't know your role, right? But that only happened 5% of the time. 95% of the time, when you took down the covered up roles, all our roles matched what the players wrote. I need to be a leader. I need to make better decisions. I need to shoot more. They matched up with what we thought. So they know 95% knew their roles. They just didn't accept their roles. And then with the other 5%, like you, Ricky, I would have to sit you down and say, Ricky, you're not a shooter on this team. And if you want to be a shooter on this team, you need to go to another team. We just don't fit. But if you will accept your role, you'll be a big part of this team.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. And Derek, Thomas says, how do you find out about the character?
How do you say that? How do you what?
Thomas asked you, how do you find out about the character?
Well, you spend time. I mean, you spend time around these guys. You're not like just meeting them off the streets. You've had interaction with a lot of these players. And you know, if they've been around, if basketball is a revolving door, a lot of these guys have been around for years and years, and word gets out. You know a guy that has good behavior, you know you've been around them. And there's not a lot of, you can't really act out here and fool these coaches, man. I'm gonna bring up a guy that just got benched a few nights ago. And I've looked at the kid since he was in Memphis, James Wiseman. To me, I see him as a high character guy. Steve Kerr benched him the other day and inserted Kevin Looney. And I believe he did that for 2 reasons. One, Looney brings more energy right to our game. And the other reason is because he knew Wiseman could handle it. He's very mature for a young guy. And those are the things important, man. I don't have time to be babysitting. You just need guys that are willing to, like Paul said numerous times, accept your role. Do what is best for the team. That might not mean you getting 30 points, Ricky, when you shooting 30% from the field. That might mean you setting screens. And high character people do what's best for the team. And they do it religiously. It's not about me. It's all about us and what I can do to make us become a winning team. And that is what that's character.
And the way to find that character out is if I'm a college coach, recruiter, what I do is I do my background check. I do my history. So I talk to that player a lot. I talk to his coach. I talk to his teammates. I talk to his parents or his brothers and sisters. I talk to maybe some referees that ref his game. I talk to the coaches of other teams that he played against. I talk to other players of the other teams that he's played against. That's how I'm going to find out what his character really is. And if I'm in the NBA scout, then I talk to his college coach, all the other college coaches they played, all his teammates, his AAU coach, his high school coach. Talk to all of them, and you talk to the players or the coaches that had a problem with that guy, and you find out what that problem was. Was it really something he did or something else? So you do your background check, you do your history, and that's how you make the decision on who to bring board, who to draft, or who to sign as an athlete at your college. And then you'll find out right away in the first 2 weeks of practice whether that's right or wrong. And then, in my opinion, as a coach, if it's right, that's awesome. If it's wrong, you need to try and fix it. But if it's not fixable, then you need to go another direction.
Hey, Paul, I had a guy last night that's been to 6 teams in the NBA. You know, I love him to death. 6 teams he's been, and it hasn't been because of behavior. But he's been to 6 teams because these other teams don't mind taking him on because they know he's not a burden. Tobias Harris. Talk about character right there. That's one of the guys in the NBA that I know for a fact has very high character. And when you have high character, teams don't mind taking a chance on you. And you see last night it paid off. He hits the winning basket against the Lakers.
He should be here in Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's different reasons why players move. There's their attitude, their talent level isn't good enough, or their attitude and their talent level is such that a lot of teams want them. So there's different reasons why players move.
Hey, and I know in the NFL, potential draftees are vetted. I don't know if is that the NBA also?
Times 100. Times 100. I mean, in the draft room in the NBA, when you go through your draft picks, you go through extensive, 5 scouts have seen that player, have talked to that player, have done their reports, have written reports, and they've talked to, like I said, AAU coaches, girlfriends, current coaches, teammates, other players on other teams, referees. They've talked to them. Then they have a doctor's report, x-rays, MRIs. Then they have a psychological report. Every draft pick that comes in the Dallas Mavericks to work out gets interviewed by their sports psychologist for an hour. That's videoed. And then he writes up a report for the head coach. So you can't hide. You can't hide. And then there's another vetting of your Facebook, your Twitter account, all that. You have a whole report on that of every player.
Wow.
They might ask the mailman about you today.
Absolutely. I mean, we had a player in for an interview and a workout. Decent kid, good player, and he had problems on campus. He got caught not once but twice with weed, which isn't a big deal, but it was something. So our person that was interviewing said, "Okay, tell us the first time you got caught with weed. What happened? Blah 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 blah. Did you learn your lesson?" "Yeah, I learned my lesson. I can do." "Okay, tell us why you got caught the second time with weed a year later." See what happened was, so that happens all the time. I've heard some unbelievable. Here's a question for you: if you're a recruit or you're a draft pick, Ricky, and you're sitting and I'm interviewing you in my office, and I say, "Ricky, man, you're a great player. Love to have you on our team. Let me ask you a question. If our head coach, John Block, says, hey, John Smith, says, hey, Ricky, I want you to go in the game and I want you to take LeBron out. I mean, you need to get him in the knee or, take a hit on him and get him out of the game for us. What will you say?"
I can't do that, coach. I'll go in and defend him and be physical with him, but I'm not going to try to hurt anybody intentionally.
Yeah, so what I'm looking for is in your answer is because that's a loaded question, right? So are you going to be dirty enough to hurt someone and to use that? And are you going to do whatever it takes to help this team win, no matter what? So there's kind of two different edges on that, and the answer is somewhere in the middle of what you just said.
Hey, and speaking of that, Thomas says Mo's role, knowing your role, Mo, Mo's role was to foul Barkley till he wants to fight. And Carmichael Gully checks in to say this is some real good dialogue, Derek. We appreciate that, Carmichael. We appreciate you guys.
Tom knows me too well. He's a friend of mine. So Tom,
Carmichael, Motor City.
From the Motor City, yes, sir.
Hey, let's go back to football before we get too off.
Yeah, I was going to say that. But
so let's talk about the Chiefs-Bills game, D.
I mean, what do you want me to say, man? My team, I picked the Bills. They turned into a team that someone told them from up in the booth. Evidently, all of a sudden before the game, field goals became more points than touchdowns. Man, I'm disgusted. I saw Buffalo, they laid down on me basically. They didn't open up the way they had been playing in the previous weeks. And they paid for it. They became very conservative. And it looks like everything was about getting the 3 points, just trying to hang in the game. And, of course, you can't beat Kansas City like that. You got to put up a lot of points.
Everybody knew. I mean, all the reporters were saying and all the experts were saying, you can only beat the Chiefs by scoring touchdowns, not field goals. That's exactly what they said.
A lot of them, too.
Yeah, but here's the problem I see is the Kansas City Chiefs defense is pretty darn good. And, they make it challenging. And, Josh Allen is a great up-and-coming quarterback. Finally when they put some pressure on him, it made him make quicker decisions. But Mahomes was playing not MVP-like, but he was playing just good enough to get his team a comfortable win. And I think, he couldn't run. He has turf toe. People that don't have problem with their feet have no idea. Oh, it's just a toe. Having your feet or your toes hurt is terrible. You can't do anything. You can't cut. You can't move, and it hurts. So so he was more passing and not as much running. But I think that's a lesson that the Bills, as an organization, the team will learn. I think sometimes it takes a process to get over that next hump. And this should be a good lesson for him.
But you know what, guys? I would not be too upset with Buffalo because I think this is a lot like the NBA used to be. You got to kind of make that step. This is their first experience getting in there, playing in a big time game. I know they went in the playoffs last year. They won a game this year, so maybe next year they take that next step. And you guys know how that can be from the NBA.
And Ricky, man, later for the moral victories, man. They played well, but it was a learning experience. If you look at Buffalo, they did start playing well at the end of last season. Like the last 6 games of last season, they turned it on. And I was expecting good things from them this year. And I'm going to be honest, I think that they'd had a great year. They lost to possibly the champions. But I've seen them continue to get better. I think they'll continue to move forward next year. But it was a learning experience from them. They learned. They lost to one of the greatest of all time. So definitely I see them getting better next year.
Yeah, and I always thought as a coach, I can learn as much winning as I can losing. But you do lose. I mean, you do learn of stuff that you need to get better at. It might be personnel. It could be, all kinds of little stuff. And as we just talked about, 1 or 2 plays, even though it wasn't really in that game, can mean you going to the Super Bowl or not, just like the Packers. But, they have a great foundation. And, like the process that the Detroit Pistons had to finally get past the Celtics and get to the finals, and then to get past the Lakers finally and win championships. The Bulls did that too. That's a process. And as long as you keep your core people together, and you're on a good path and you're focused on that, that's key. And I think, then you learn for next year. The problem with a lot of teams and a lot of team owners is they get frustrated and then they start making crazy deals. Hey, we need to do this and that, and they break down their rate. It's like making a trade in the NBA. So I want to get this great player, but I got to give away 4 of my core players to get that great player. That defeats the whole purpose. So
just because you lost one time, Paul, just because you lost, that's crazy. So now you break up your core. Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I'm with you 100% on that.
And you know who does that, D, is the owners. The coaches know what they're doing. The owners get impatient. Yeah. And it's only the teams with good ownership and management relationships that can get past that and become dynasties. I guess that can get past that, because owners in the NBA, owners in the NFL are billionaires, and they're used to getting their way, and they're used to winning. So and they're not known for having a lot of patience, but hopefully level heads prevail.
Carmichael checks in to say winning championships is a process. You develop character when you accept losing, and then use that experience toward building a winning culture. And I do remember Jordan seeing a video of him working out after the Pistons knocked it out. He was trying to get stronger, handle the punishment that the Pistons were bringing. Sometimes a defeat can just make you just dig down as deep as you can to try to come back. And I can see Buffalo doing that next year, Derek, because they are definitely a young, talented team. But I'll tell you one thing about the NFL that's different than the NBA. We look at Rodgers. I can't, this game ranks with anybody. You can make the argument he's the greatest ever. Certainly one of the top 5 ever. But he's only won 1 title game. And one of the reasons is he does not play defense. So he's only responsible for what the Packers can do offensively. Whereas you're on the NBA court, you got to play both ends. And while I hate that the best two-way player in the game, there's no such thing to me. You play basketball. But the guys in the NFL get labeled like NBA players when they have nothing to do with what happens on the defense. The greatest example I can give you that is Barry Sanders. If the Lions had a Barry Sanders on defense, they don't want a Super Bowl when he played.
Yeah, I mean,
you guys think about that?
Aaron Rodgers made a mistake by not running. Coach made a mistake by kicking a field goal. Right. Defensive back made a mistake by not catching that damn interception that was in his arms. Running back fumbled 2 times in the first quarter. I mean, it's like, come on.
Yeah, that's true.
You got a lot of this game. Hey, Ricky, sports is just funny. Sports is funny. You only gonna go. You got to have a team. If it's not tennis or something, it's all about having a team. And a lot of times you look at it like Paul was talking earlier, and it still baffles me how you look at NBA and football. You can have a team that's on their way up, Paul, and you can watch them, and every year they get better. And right when it seems like they get to reach the pinnacle, all of a sudden they break up the squad. And that I've never understood, man. I can't understand it. A lot of times it takes time for these teams to gel. Like you look at Golden State with Steph and Clay and Livingston and Iguodala. Those guys, it took a while for them to get where they wanted to be. But you can see every year they got a little bit better. And that's what it takes in football as well. And you got to be patient.
One thing about football is the free agency. It's hard to keep those teams together like you did in the past.
Well, you got to make people want to stay, though, Ricky. No way should a Deshaun Watson, in the prime of his career, be trying to leave an organization. It's not just what happens on the field. What goes on behind the scenes. And that's what we always talk about on here. You got to make players want to be there.
I agree with that somewhat, but players, you have to win or players don't want to be there, period. So they want to be with winners. But I think in that situation, there's something deeper in that organization that's not right. And that's a big, they didn't win, they struggled, so that's why players want to go somewhere else. But there's something deep in there that something's not right there at the top, I think.
Hey, Paul, aren't they going through the same thing with the Rockets? Fertitta, it's the same thing. A lot of people won't come out and say it. I say it. Right now, they having some racial tension with these two teams behind the scenes. I know they wanted Eric Bieniemy. They got some stuff going on behind the scenes, man. And Deshaun wanted to get out of there. It's not just what's going on in the football field. He's had some problems with the upper management, the owner. So a lot of things won't be said, but you can kind of read between the lines in some of these situations. And it's no coincidence that both of these situations are right now happening in Houston.
Do you think the Rockets have racial tension?
Yeah, Harden didn't want to play for Fertitta anymore. He started talking about him being a big Trump guy, Trump supporter, and donating millions to Trump's campaign and all that. Yeah, it became public.
Yeah, I mean, that's racist / political, but I mean, no one wanted to play with Harden anyway. So, I mean, but
Paul, guys want to get out, man. They come up with all kind of excuses, man. If you don't want to be somewhere, instead of saying, I'm not happy. And a lot of times, you might be the reason things aren't going well.
Yeah, so the Rockets bring in Chris Paul. He ain't happy. The Rockets bring in your buddy Westbrook. He ain't happy. Maybe it's you, Harden.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. But there's sometimes here in Detroit, Matthew Stafford and the Lions are parting ways. This guy is a terrific quarterback who has been with a franchise that has just not been able to get it right. And I totally understand his wish to move on. And somebody's going to get a hell of a quarterback. This guy has played with broken bones in his body, and he loves Detroit. And he's loved it here. And, he decided, and probably they decided too, he's going to be 33, going to get a fresh start. They're going to get a first-round pick as they try to reboot this thing. What do you think of a guy that's put in that time that decides that, you know what, this might be best for both of us, as opposed to a guy like Harden,
Ricky,
clearly out for Harden?
The Detroit Lions have one of the worst organizations in sports right now, man. I'm not even calling them the Lions, man. Come on. The Detroit Lions, they've made some of the worst decisions. And I'm going to say this, and people can get offended. Jim Caldwell should still be coaching in Detroit. And I'm not saying because of his color. I'm saying that because he got through to the players. He was well respected in Detroit, and they were on the way up. And to get rid of him and bring in Mr. New England Patriot, Matt Patricia, was a recovered from yet. Stafford goes where and shines. Because I'm a big fan of his. Hate to lose him in Detroit, but I want to see Matthew Stafford somewhere and have an opportunity to win.
You were breaking up on us a little bit at the end there, but I think you said you want to have an opportunity to win.
I want to definitely see him have an opportunity to win. He's a top-tier quarterback. It's not his fault that they've been losing every year. They've made some boneheaded decisions.
That's true.
So when we talk about, like in sports, like you said, it's funny, right? Things happen. It's fun. It's, the golf gods, the basketball, whatever. I mean, I always thought in basketball they have a very relied upon stat, right? Assists, right? Assists. So, you make money as a point guard or a player in the NBA by having assists, good assist to turnover ratio. The problem with that stat is once the ball is out of your hands and you give it to someone like Ricky right in his shooting pocket and he misses the damn shot, it's not my fault. You missed the shot, you're wide open. You missed the layup. So I always thought in the NBA they should have they should have assists, but they should have potential assists of wide open shots. So, John Lucas, I played with John Lucas in Milwaukee, and he said, he told all of us, he said, if I give you a wide open shot and you miss it, I ain't passing it to you no more because you're messing up my dimes. But that's where some stuff players and coaches don't have control over. It's just stuff that happens. But I would like to go back to let's talk about a little bit about Super Bowl in a little over a week. How do we when I go through and look at when I'm looking at a team and who has an upper hand, like in football, I mean, I'm not a football expert by any amount, but I look at my categories are quarterback, coaching, offense, defense, physicality, and speed. It's kind of how I evaluate a team, right? Quarterback, I think, is a toss-up. Even though Mahomes is younger and Brady is the GOAT, Mahomes is the defending champion, right? Mahomes is the Super Bowl MVP, so he's been there before. So I have that as a toss-up. What about you, D?
The quarterback position, I don't know, Paul, because it comes back to what you said about the defense. That's a hard one for me to answer, because the question is going to come down to, can they keep for Tampa Bay, Brady has to stay in the pocket. So it's going to come down to can Kansas City put enough pressure on him to get him out the pocket. If you get him out the pocket, he's the worst quarterback in the league. And if you let him stay in the pocket, of course, we know he'll pick you apart. It's kind of like LeBron James. So it's going to come down to me is, can the defense put pressure on Brady? And if they can put any pressure on him, then I think Kansas City wins the game anyway. But if they can put pressure on Brady, I think they win comfortably.
Yeah, but overall, I have a quarterback situation. I mean, as a toss-up in my mind. I mean, whatever happens, happens. But, I mean, Brady is the GOAT, and he's an unbelievable passer, and Mahomes is the future of the quarterback situation. But what about coaching? Coaching both coaches, who do you give the edge to?
I got to give an edge to Andy Reid, because he went there last year and he's done it, and he's continued to get better every year. I have to say Andy Reid without a doubt.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and he's like an older coach, and I love older coaches because I am one, that has that little glint in his eye. Like, he's going to throw in some funky play. He's going to do something like going for it on fourth down when nobody thought you would do it. Stuff like that. And actually throwing it with a backup quarterback when the game's on the line. And I agree with that.
Hey,
Paul, it looked like he enjoys it. I'm sorry, Ricky, let me say this quickly. It looked like Andy Reid enjoys the game. Look at the two different coaches. Andy Reid, look, the players have bought in because he acts like one of them. And then you look on the other end of the spectrum, Bruce Arians, who was ripping his players every week until the last 5 or 6 weeks, he finally let Brady be himself. But for me, if I got to play for one of them, 7 days a week, 24/7, I want to be playing for Andy Reid without a doubt.
And they're both big guys. They're both big guys, not quarterbacks.
Let me get this little thing in right quick about two of the greatest to ever play, two different sports. I'm covering Tiger Woods at the Buick Open, I don't know, many years ago when he was playing here. Par 5, tree line on both sides. Tiger's in the trees over here to the left, to the right. Green's over here. And I get down there, been playing golf all my life. So I started looking this way, like, I know he's gonna have to hit it out here, just maybe lay it up. Long story short, he gets down there, he looks this way. He sees a big screaming hook out about 245 yards and hooks it onto the green. And I'm like, oh, I've never seen that before in my life. That's just one of the shots that he hit. I just couldn't comprehend it. The other day, Tom Brady, they just got a few seconds left. I'm thinking, it's almost halftime. Get you 5 yards and let's kick a field goal. That was a touchdown pass. What was it, 50 yards or something? Who thought Brady was going to throw a touchdown pass? Didn't
Brady?
Think he just going to try to get the field goal? Right. Who thought it? Tom Brady.
You have to have the ingenuity, the guts, the imagination, and the talent to do stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, let me say this now. On this quarterback battle, you have to go a long way back to find a battle like this, man. This is great. You got a young guy that hasn't even entered his prime yet, and you got a 43-year-old quarterback that many refer to as the GOAT. And that's what's so interesting to me. I'm not even talking about the defense and the offense or any of that, the offensive line. Just Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes, to me, is total box office.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. You had another area you wanted to hit on, didn't you? You had defense, you had quarterback, coach.
Offense, defense.
I'd say Tampa Bay's defense.
So offensively, Tampa Bay is number 3 offensive points scored in the NFL. Kansas City is number 5. Kansas City is number 1 in total yards on offense. Tampa is number 7. Here's what scares me about Kansas City. Kansas City is ranked number 12 in red zone offense, and Tampa is ranked number 7. And that scares me a little bit. But overall, I give offense to Kansas City because of Mahomes, their ingenuity, their tight end Kelso, and speed, their speed.
And Tampa Bay's offense is skewed a little bit because they played Detroit and put 47 on Detroit. So that bumps the stats up a little bit.
Hey, the Tampa Bay's offense does get a little upgrade. Antonio Brown will be back next week, so that's one good thing.
This is going to be a great game. And normally, I am a little pick-em league during the regular season, and I don't watch, teams I don't really know. I'm like, well, who's the best quarterback in this game? And I'll pick the team that has the best quarterback. But you really can't do this here because both are so capable.
Here, I'll throw this in here, turnovers. So Mahomes threw 5 interceptions out of 50 passes at the end of the season. Brady threw 3 interceptions in 1 game, right? So that, to me, if that happens in the Super Bowl, Kansas City definitely wins.
Yeah, they cannot turn it over. And you got to score a touchdown.
Yes.
No field goal.
No field goals or punts.
You're not beating them with field goals.
Thomas checks in young gun athlete versus the GOAT. Tampa Bay defense underestimated is better than Kansas City's. You'll see. That's what Tom. I agree with Thomas. I think their defense is a little better. But their defense got a
38-30, Ricky. 38-30. 38-30 Kansas City.
38-30 Kansas City?
Yeah, that's my pick.
I like that. I bet the point spread is 6.5 probably, but yeah, I would go with that.
Probably.
Yeah.
But it's going to be high scoring affair.
Here's the other thing too. Mahomes has 2 weeks to get better. 2 weeks. That's big. I mean, I've been there before.
Paul, 45-30. What are you? 45-30 then. What do you want, man?
I know Mahomes took a shot in his toe before that game, so he couldn't feel it. But now 2 weeks gives him a chance to really heal, so he has more confidence, so he can actually run like he usually does.
Hey,
45. I have 52-30. That's my no.
Thomas has 38-35 to GOAT, which is Tampa Bay. Oh, before we get out, I do want to go back to, you asked me a question. If a coach asked me if I would go in and hurt somebody, this could be football, basketball. How would you take that, Derek? I lost Paul. I guess he'll be back though. Paul, can you still hear us?
My coach wouldn't even ask me that, Ricky. It goes back to character again. My coach wouldn't even have the guts to ask me to go in and hurt another player.
Yeah, I'm not saying to do that. I'm saying that's a question that someone would ask to see what their response is. Yeah. There is no correct response, but just to see what response you get.
Yeah, I get that.
I respect the game too much. So, but they will ask you that maybe on when you coming into the league. They ask some weird questions today. They ask about your mother and all other kind of stuff and who they've been dating.
So here's a question for police officers, right? because my son's a police officer. So they'll ask them, so here's a scenario. You pull your mom over for speeding. She's doing 80 in a 65. Do you write her a ticket?
If I wrote my mom a ticket, boy, that would be a problem come Thanksgiving, that's for sure. Hey guys, this was great, man.
Yeah.
Hey, Ricky, I want to thank everybody, man, for tuning in on a great Thursday, man. I know Paul's got nice weather. I hope you do, Ricky, because it's about 70 here today. So,
oh my God.
I hope you got nice weather out there, and thank you for tuning in on a great Thursday afternoon.
Hey,
it snowed in Vegas this week, man. Freaked everybody out. Just a little
Are
bit.
you serious, Paul?
Just a little dust, a little snow, and everybody freaked out like it was called a winter storm. I'm like, are you kidding me?
If it was 70 in Detroit, we would not be doing this show at this time today because I would be on the golf course. Hey, love you guys.
Hey, so I want to get a commitment from both of you two. I love both of you two. I want to get a commitment from you two that when in the early spring or early summer, both of you come out and visit me here in Vegas and we do the show live from my house.
Oh, absolutely.
You got a commitment here.
Absolutely. Let's make it happen. Hey, join us Monday, 9 Eastern time to our YouTube, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you Monday for D-Girl, Big Mo. I'm Rick. Take care, everybody.
Hey, I love you guys. Take care, Paul, Ricky. Listeners, have a great